Yo, what's good, y'all, man? Listen, this is the time of year where we got a lot of trade talk going, man. And so, I would say you're in the presence of two of the best in the business when it comes to negotiations, when it comes to trading, when it comes to fantasy football value. If you watched this last week, and I hate to say it in this manner because this player is on IR. We did talk about Nico Collins, man. We talked about him. I'm not going to lie. We said, listen, sometimes when things are too good, they tend to balance out. And so some teams are going to be without Nico Collins for the next 4 weeks at least. So hopefully you took advantage of, and you got what you needed. Unfortunately for Nico, but for the benefit of your fantasy team, P, sometimes, man, what we say, it matters. You feel me?
Yeah, man. I feel like, you know what I'm saying? We've been doing this shit for so long. It's like you got to know when to hold them and you got to know when to fold them. Like sometimes this game, for better or for worse, when we drop it, it's almost like it's etched in the goddamn stone. You know what I'm saying? Because, Nico's one of my favorite players, but we said to get his ass off. And we said, fuck your feelings. Fuck how you feel about a player. You think you won? Nah, man. You know what I mean? Somebody's always going to try to backdoor you in this game of fantasy, man.
Somebody's always going to try to get the upper hand, man. And that's what we're here to help you do, is help you get the advantage, baby. So let's do this. Let's talk about a couple players right now, P. And let's talk about some guys that potentially are on your, like, do I trade them? Do I buy them? Like, do you ever buy high? Do you sell low? One player that we got to talk about is Jaden Daniels, who has taken over the fantasy landscape. Obviously, right now, is the QB1 on projections to be like potential MVP candidate this year. Scored 20 in four, at least 20 fantasy points in 4 out of the 5 games he's played so far. And I mean, it doesn't matter the defense right now. He is producing at a high level. The running is there, so we know the floor is there. The upside is there with the passing on a weekly basis. Is he a sell high candidate, man? Because, you drafted him so low. It could be a time to where you cash it on the value, or maybe he's just going to be this damn good all season.
Yeah, it's funny because when we talk about like sell high candidates and buy low candidates, there's a few things that I look at. And when there's a player that I want to keep who I think is going to be producing, generally, like from the quarterback position, it's somebody who does throw a lot of touchdowns, gets a lot of yards, has a solid team around them, but also that rushing floor makes it different, makes it hard for me to kind of like be like, this dude is a for sure sell high. But I think right now his value is just too high for you not to at least consider it, right? When we talked about last week, we talked about like kind of like treating your team like a stock market, right?
Yeah.
You got players performing high, you got players performing low. You never want to sell them low. But right now, can you recoup some of that value? Like, what is he ranked? Is he like the number 1 quarterback right now?
Number 2 quarterback in some leagues, number 1 quarterback in other leagues.
Like, think about what you can get for somebody who's right now ranked and rolling, not just on your team, but in the media. Everybody's talking about him. If you don't have Jaden Daniels on your team, you want Jaden Daniels on your team.
Yes.
It's just a matter of finding out from that person, how much do you really want him? Like, what do you really have that you can give me to get him that'll make sense for both of us, quote unquote, right? Because if you think he's going to be like the number 1 or number 2 player moving forward in fantasy at that position, more power to you. Personally, I think he's still going to be a good quality player, but I'm looking to recoup some of that value, right? So
I don't necessarily see it that way, bro. I think Jaden Daniels is the player you hold. Like, this is what you drafted him for. If you took him later in the rounds, you were like, okay, I can get you and have you be my starter the rest of the year. Mm-hmm. What are you going to flip him for at this point? Are you going to flip him for like Jordan Love, a Dak Prescott? These guys don't offer the same weekly upside as a Jaden Daniels. Now, if it was like Baker Mayfield because he's the QB3 and you want to sell high, now we're doing that. But a player like Jaden Daniels, we just didn't know what he was going to look like in his rookie season. Now that we do, why would you trade that away? In my opinion, I'm keeping that shit. Like, to me, he's basically Lamar Jackson. Maybe you want to call it a little bit light, but that's to me his value. So if you're going to trade Jaden Daniels, I mean, it almost needs to be more so like a different position. it wouldn't be like a tier down to get another quarterback and another position. I think it would be like I got Jaden Daniels luckily as my second quarterback in a single QB league. I want to keep Lamar. I want to keep Josh Allen. Let me trade Jaden Daniels for like an elite wide receiver, an elite running back to help my lineup out.
That's 100%. Yeah, you don't want to do like a 1-for-1. Like you can go right now to like the Dak owner. You can go right now to like the Jordan, to any one of these owners, and based off of what your team needs, right? You can take a few points off, on the average of your quarterback position. Get yourself like a Dak Prescott. But if your team like can use a little bit of help at running back, you can say, okay, I can give you Jaden Daniels and Tony Pollard, right? You give me your Dak and your Bijan, right? If you look at something like that, you get creative because you're also buying low on Bijan. We'll probably talk about him a little bit later. But if you do a deal like that, that's where you can capitalize on somebody who Jaden Daniels is not going to be like, I don't foresee him like completely falling off. I don't foresee anything like that, anything disastrous happening. You can't rule that out.
That's kind of like the buy low, sell high component, right? Like you're thinking either somebody's going to have a massive jump or somebody's going to fall off at some point in the year. I just don't see that with Jaden Daniels. The only thing is you have to worry about this when we talk about it with Nico. We haven't seen it out of Jaden Daniels, though, is the injury component. Mobile quarterbacks do have a tendency to get like nicked up at times. And will that affect his rushing? So maybe some of the output, but he's young. Like when these guys are young, they play through anything, man. So, except for some of these quarterbacks.
Except for some. But I will say
Anthony Richardson, my man, he's a little different.
But there's a difference, right? There's a huge difference between like a young quarterback. Like, okay, for example, you and I go back and forth on this when back in the day when we're talking about like Cam, like quarterbacks that are rushing quarterbacks that are big, that take on punishment over the course of their career, year 4, year 5, year 6, them to start wearing down, right? But you got a Jaden Daniels who's not like a big guy, right? So in dynasty leagues, we still want to hold him. But, I mean, on the contrary, he's actually a small guy, right? He's tall, he's lanky, he's only 210 at the quarterback position. The good thing is he rushes and he doesn't take a lot of damage, right? He's always running out of bounds, smart, sliding and just running and, doing these little plays to get in the end zone, in the red zone, which is dope. But, I mean, there still is that consideration where you are running quarterback, you're only 210 pounds. If something does happen, right, and some defensive lineman falls on you, and this can happen to anybody, but generally when you're a smaller frame like that, they tend to happen a little bit more often. Like Lamar Jackson a few years back.
Yep. And he always gets nicked up too. So I'd be careful selling Jaden Daniels. And like we talked about, like if you're going to sell high, make sure you get something that helps you. Like when you have a player that's top of the market, make sure you're not doing an even deal. It needs to be like somebody's overpaying for a top 3 quarterback. That's what it needs to feel like if you do trade Jaden Daniels. Another quarterback, P, that you and I, you know what I'm saying, we've gone back and forth. I think we've covered him a little bit too, but I want to dial it in, especially because he missed time, especially because Joe Flacco did play well in his absence. Anthony Richardson, bro. Yeah. Anthony Richardson. And I know there's a lot of people probably rostering him like, what do I do with this guy? He gets hurt all the time. Mm-hmm. We know that the ceiling is crazy. He started to look better last week. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not truly panicking on him yet. I still think Anthony Richardson is a buy low type player, a player that can help lineups. Does it come with added risk? A lot more than a Jaden Daniels? Absolutely it does. Mm-hmm. But he's the kind of player, P, like the coaching staff hasn't given up on him. Shane Steichen said he is the starting quarterback. And if we are getting 20-point, 25-point games, maybe it comes with some 12-point games and 10-point games. But if we get that kind of ceiling with him, I just don't see a reason why to pass on him or to panic and trade him for something way less than what he's worth. He at value he still should be a top 5 to 7 quarterback to me as far as like fantasy value wise.
Yeah, it's different with Anthony Richardson because it's polarizing, right? Like he can be really good or he can be injured, right? What I look for in players like this is, there's only so like you could hold them only to a point for so long where you're like, okay, well, this is who this guy is, right? Big, talented, but consistently and often injured. He doesn't have the grace of like a Jaden Daniels, right? He doesn't always go out of bounds. He doesn't always slide. He's not like that quick and twitchy. He's more of the big, brawny type of guy who will take a few hits, right? And it's going to be at his expense, right? So, in a player like this, personally, I would sell him, right? I would go to somebody like you who does still see the upside, but when I'm trading him, I want to make sure that I still get some upside and, and then something else in return, right? So I'm still looking at that, I see with Anthony Richardson, there is a trend. It happened last year, right? And this year showed flashes of being great, elite, using his talents, but it seems almost the way that they're playing him, or that even other defenses are playing him, they're containing him, they're making him try to beat them with the throw, and when they take away their other things, he's going to go and try to run again, and
that's the problem. The problem is we haven't seen a full season out of Anthony Richardson. So I think you get a discount, so to speak, if you want to call it that. But then there's also the inherent risk. Like, we just don't know what we don't know at times. And the fact that he's shown us, you mentioned it, in 2 straight seasons, that he can't stay healthy through an entire year is a problem. We get all season, we're seeing this dude dunk all over the fucking place. We're seeing a most athletic quarterback. We know the rolling to the left, off his fucking back foot, throws at 75. Like, we know the talent is there. And I think that's the part that's the selling point, right? If you are looking to sell him, that is the selling point. But I also think that's the buying point. And so you have to determine for you, can your lineup absorb Anthony Richardson scoring 10 points? Yeah. Can your lineup absorb that? Because if it can, if you have a strong enough roster, it's hella worth the upside. If you're 1-4, 0-5, and you're looking to get wins, this is not the right player to buy low on. It's not the right move. And I think this is for the teams that want elite upside during the fantasy playoffs, in hopes that he's healthy for those 3 games and plays well for at least 2 of the 3. Like, you're hoping for that at the end. I think this is for more of those players who are forward thinking than it is for like right now. Because if you're looking right now, this shit isn't going to help you out. Like, it might take a while for Anthony Richardson to look the part. So, yeah, you know who has been looking the part even in his return? Jordan Love. My God, bro. And their upcoming schedule is soft as hell, man. Now, we talk about buying low, selling high. Sometimes a player is priced just right? He's been injured. He's the QB 24 on the season, doing much better than that on a points per game basis. But he's a locked in QB1 on a weekly basis. And I think he's one of the safer QB1s. Last year, he was a top 6 guy. And it's like he's probably going to be that this year too. How are you feeling about Jordan Love? Is that somebody you feel like, man, I should be trying to target right now? You feel like this is a player you stay, like there's other players, like you use him as a piece? Because we got him at the back end of the QB1s, which was, it was a steal on draft day.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of QBs that run similar systems are just high floor type of guys, right? So, your Brock Purdy's, right? Like, everybody that runs that kind of same similar scheme. But I think Jordan Love is in that same scheme, but just offers a little bit more upside, right? So, as far as like a buy or sell, this is a guy that if I am going to buy, it's going to be because I have a Jaden Daniels and I can go and get Jordan Love and another piece, right? So, knowing that I'm securing the floor and capping the upside, yeah. But look, if I got another piece out of that deal, if I traded Jaden Daniels and I got another piece, then the points on average are going to even out, right? If I get a better running back in addition to Jordan Love, my floor of like 18, 19 points with Jordan Love is going to be made up in the ceiling of 20, 22, 23 points. Versus like the 30-point ceiling of Jaden Daniels is going to be made up by whoever I'm increasing my positional players with, right? So if I'm targeting him, it's going to be in that type of deal, right? If I have him, then I'm holding on to him, right? Because when I'm looking at these players, I love ceilings, but I also love floors, like safe floors, because that offers a little bit more like predictability. Right.
Right.
So, and players like that, I would prefer him over an Anthony Richardson just because there's so much variance when it comes to Anthony Richardson. But no, Jordan love the guy. If I have him, I'm maintaining him. I'm keeping him.
Well, you mentioned it's like the floor upside, right? We talked about Anthony Richardson. There's the floor, and then there's the floor, and there's the upside, right? And so it's like Jordan Love actually provides a really nice, I would say, above median to where that middle range is for Anthony Richardson. And he provides very similar upside on a weekly basis, maybe not with the rushing or maybe not like a 40-point potential game that Anthony Richardson could have, but he's going to have very few of those anyway. Jordan Love is consistent as they come, and I think he proved that towards the second half of last year. So I think this is a player I would buy high on, so to speak, like coming off of 2 strong games. I think he's a player that like I think will provide QB1, mid-tier QB1 levels all the way through. And if somebody is still, a lot of people get stuck in preseason values. If there's somebody in your league that has like Kyler, Dak, Joe Burrow, and you're able to flip for Jordan Love in another piece, I'm sending those kind of offers out today. CJ Stroud for Jordan Love in another piece. Like he might not have the same pedigree as a CJ Stroud. Patrick Mahomes, another name you might be able to flip for Jordan Love. Like if you can go get Jordan Love, I think this is the kind of player you can have on your roster all year long and feel good about, like, damn, every week he has top 3 upside.
Oh, 100%, 100%. Like you said it right there. Especially for those Kyler owners, right? If you target them, Kyler just had a big game. Like we could talk about selling high. We could talk about Kyler with that 50-yard run against the Niners, right? 50-yard touchdown run. So, if you can target somebody like that in your league, 100%, because the system fits Jordan Love perfectly like a glove. Like there's no predictability on who he's going to throw to, like who's going to be his number 1 wide receiver. He has wide receivers. He has tight ends. He has a defense that's going to get him the ball back. Stingy secondary. So, it all kind of makes sense. And, one thing that you touched on is his schedule is a little bit more cakier than what people would think. Right. So even in the fantasy playoffs, right. So, there's that one game in Minnesota, but he already lit their ass up already, man. So, it ain't
schedule
nothing but a revenge
in the BBL. So let's move on, man. Let's move on to some running backs, man, and talk a little bit about some running backs that are some pretty, I would say, like, some notable names in the fantasy community that we have a lot of question marks about. And one of the biggest ones is heading on a bye this week, Devon Achane. Now, over the offseason, he's going to be the RB1. Look at his yards per carry, and he's the greatest thing ever. And if he plays all 17 games, he's going to break fantasy and all this other shit we were hearing about Devon Achane. Me and Prabhat were here in our chairs telling you, hey, listen, calm down the hype. We know we have a long season to play out. And it just so has happened is that he's been hurt twice now. And he got hurt earlier in the season, played well off of that, obviously, on a short week. Congratulations to him. Then got banged up in the game right before the bye, got a concussion. Raheem Mostert is back now. Tua is out. This offense doesn't look the same, and Tua should be back in week 8. But if I had Devon Achane right now, I'd be questioning a lot because you drafted him early. He's on a bye right now. You've seen him get injured now multiple times, and he hasn't had a strong performance since week 2. Pete, where are you at on the Devon Achane side of this thing? Because I like the player, and I think there's a little too much panic right now about his value. I've seen it. It kind of feels like he's fallen into this mid-tier RB2 level.
Yeah. I think if you can go on my page and then look at what I said about Achane when Tua went down, right? In my opinion, if you were going to sell Achane, that would have been the moment to sell him.
That window.
Yeah, he would have been good. But now if you still have him, you can't sell him. Like, what exactly are you going to sell him for, right? Because a lot of his value is relying on Tua, right? They are bringing back Raheem Mostert. They also have Jalen Wright, who is a big explosive guy and durable. So I don't think that you should sell him right now. You're not going to really get much for him unless people are still banking on, well, a way that you can sell him is like, hey, Tua's coming back. Look at what he's done while Tua was in. Like, that's the guy that you're getting. And that way you can get the most out of his value. But that's a little bit more far-fetched in my opinion. I think right now you have to hold on to him.
So the sell high window obviously closed, but whenever a sell high window closes, there's also opportunity where now we start to get into buy low land. And
Okay.
when I think about Devon Achane, it's like the upsides there. Very eerily similar, reminds me of like an Anthony Richardson,
I was
right?
just gonna say that.
It
Yeah.
very much reminds me of that. Like we have this entirely high ceiling, but we know the injury risk is really what craters his value more so than even Tua being out right now. I think that's the biggest thing is like we know that the injury is there lurking in the background. But I do think this presents an opportunity if you can find, like, there's not a whole lot of great running backs out there right now. And I think people are struggling, especially teams that probably have them are probably looking at 2 and 3, maybe 1 and 4 with their rosters right now. So if I had a winning team and I was looking to find assets down the stretch that could help my fantasy team, I would be looking at like, what do they want for Devon Achane? Can I send them 2 producing running backs right now? Like, do I have a stud running back already? Maybe I avoided Devon Achane and I got Alvin Kamara. I got a Saquon Barkley. I got somebody else. And I can say, you know what? Hey, you want Javonte Williams and Najee? You want those aren't the names, obviously, but you want 2 producing running backs that can get you production right now so you can get wins. Give me Devon Achane. I could deal with it until this offense looks better. So for me, I'm playing the buy low thing as much as I can, even if they don't accept it.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, right? Because I have a team where I do have Alvin Kamara, right? And that's going to be my mainstay. That's going to be my rock in my RB position. I also got a Tony Pollard and a DeAndre Swift.
Okay.
Right. So a situation that would make sense for me because I have stability at wide receiver. Yep. I have stability at my one running back that I know is going to be my rock. If you do send Swift and you do send a Tony Pollard, that may be something you want to get done, boy. You know what I'm saying? So something like that, when you got stability, you'll be able to take on a little bit more risk, right? Because you can't deny his points per game when he's playing and when all things are working for them. But chances are, if that Devon Achane owner is who he is, right, they probably don't have a winning record, right? They're probably struggling, and you give somebody like a Swift who's off 2 back-to-back 20-plus games, and you give a Tony Pollard who just came off of his bye, offering like an average of around like 14 points per game. Yeah. That may be something that you can get done, right? That right there would be a money shot.
Use like a J.K. Dobbins.
No Diddy, man, no Diddy.
use guys like J.K. Dobbins, especially, or like a Rico Dowdle, a Kareem Hunt, like guys you got for free to go get a Devon Achane and pair that up with maybe another name that you got at like lower value. Another name who we know is probably going to fall off at some point this year. It doesn't look like it right now, but we know how this thing always fucking plays out. Chuba Hubbard. Get him off right now for Devon Achane, and you have now sold a piece that you were trying to cut 3 weeks ago for a player that you know can start. Like, those are the kind of moves you have to make right now. You're like, I don't want to trade these guys. They're performing well, and Devon Achane, and he's not good, and he's on a bye. Like, these are the kind of players you can get rid of very easily to acquire studs when they have fallen in prices. So don't be afraid to send those kind of offers out for people who look like, you know what, maybe they're breaking out right now. If it happens, it happens. Like, be okay with that, but for Devon Achane, man, I think the floor is really low, and he has a high floor when he plays, PPR wise. So
yeah. He's a polarizing player for sure. It just, like I said, it depends on the makeup of your team, right?
What about ETN? What about ETN? Because this might be different. This might be different. I've hated ETN since the jump, right? Since the jump, I talked about this. Where you at with ETN? Because Higsby, he hasn't taken over a lot of snaps yet. Like, it's almost up to about 40%, I think, of the snaps he played last time. Yeah, but shit, it's like 90% of the production.
Yeah, it's crazy because we compared Achane to A-Rich. You can compare ETN to like a Kyler, right? And that's a tale of 2 goddamn halves. Yeah. In the past, periodically he would fall off, right? I think that his fall off started off a little sooner because the coaching staff has been looking to get somebody who's a little bit more hard-nosed runner, right? ETN, where we seen him flourish was in the passing game, but over the course of last year and the year before that, I believe it was like clockwork where he's elite in the first half and then trash in the second half, right? But Etienne, now where I see him, just his value, I don't think like he's not somebody who I'm pursuing, right? I think that he can be good and he can be serviceable, but there's just other factors into play more so than just either injury history or more so than just like a tale of two halves. You have a running back in there who is performing now, right? And it's I think I don't know. With me, I'm not really happy. If I have ETN, I'm looking to sell him definitely for sure.
Yeah, it's just you're not going to get much for ETN right now. Like I think he's in this back end RB2 land. When you like, if I was sending out deals for him, like I might even have trouble. You know, we were talking about like a Brian Robinson. I might have trouble being like Brian Robinson for ETN even right now, which is like that's kind of hard to say because I think ETN is the better player. He's just fantasy wise, he's struggling, dealing with the shoulder injury right now. We haven't even seen a pop game from him yet, which is like kind of what you expect out of a Travis Etienne. So I don't know. He's a middling player for me, and I think I wouldn't if I was going to sell, I would need to get like closer to draft day value. Like I'm not going to sell unless I'm getting RB2 value because I still think he has the upside for that. But what I am doing is I do think I would buy low on ETN, but I'm not sending the pieces that are valuable to me. I am doing a very similar thing like we talked about with Achan, where I'm giving up players who I found on waivers, players who, if they produce the rest of the season, that could be somebody else's win to secure a little bit more floor. And I would not treat ETN as my RB2. I would only make that move if I was consolidating to make another RB3 with upside. Say I already had two performing running backs and I felt really good about them. Now I can send you a Rico Dowdle and another player for ETN. You get the production. I get the upside on my bench. That's the win in my opinion. Like, I don't think it's so far-fetched to think that Travis Etienne's still the guy. I think we've just had a bad spurt of games and he got hurt.
Yeah, it's definitely not far-fetched. Now, when you're talking to like the audience that we're talking to right now, right? Like, you know, people are gonna think, really, Rico Dowdle and some other piece, like realistically, you know, you're gonna have to have a mouthpiece to pull that off. Like nobody's really that high on Rico Dowdle now.
Right.
But you know, when Jesus, like a move that I would probably make for like realistically, if you're looking to buy him, right? Yeah, it's tough.
DeAndre
man.
Swift?
You know,
Would you rather have DeAndre Swift or ETN?
this is a good question. Like, would you rather's with ETN? I like DeAndre Swift. I like how he's turning up. You know, I like how he looks electric. It looks like he found his footing. So I don't know that
Right.
I think
Who would you rather have?
I think I would have. I think personally, I think I'd rather have Swift than ETN. I would.
Swift over ETN? See,
I think I would, bro. I
Who would
think
you rather
that's where
have?
we differ.
Who would you rather have, Ramondre Stevenson or ETN?
I'd rather have ETN than Ramondre.
Me too. Who would you rather have, would you rather have ETN or Najee?
You know, it's
man.
this is a good one. I know you probably rather have Najee just
Let's go Najee
still.
still.
Najee. No, nah, man. I would take
man.
ETN over Najee.
Who'd you rather have, Travis Etienne or Chuba Hubbard?
I mean, there's an end date for Chuba Hubbard. The expiration date is coming up in a few weeks. So give me ETN.
Who'd you rather have, Travis Etienne or CMC?
CMC.
Yeah,
that's motherfucking without a doubt.
Who,
a lot of the CMC is a target. CMC is somebody you want to go and get.
Talk on
all
that,
the bad
I think a lot of people talk on that, P, because a lot of people don't. If you have CMC, you treat him like the RB he is. Like I think everybody agrees with that. But like people who are hunting a lot of times don't know what to send or the right type of deals that can even garner interest because they've been sitting on this player since week 1, and all the reports are out there. Like he could come back week 7, he could come back week 8. He's coming back after the bye. Like there's a lot of misinformation. He could miss the whole season. Some people may want to cash out. So what's that floor look like? What kind of player are you sending for CMC?
Listen, with me, and see, like I just have confidence in CMC. He's going to come back, right? And just to give you like a perspective on how I look at it, when we're talking about the news, we're talking about in the preseason, it's just a little irritation, right? Then it gets to a point where it's like, he's flying to Germany for a specialist. He's going to get some shots. Then it gets to a point where it's like, and this is his value, obviously. Then it gets to a point where it's like, it's in both legs.
Achilles tendonitis in both legs.
Tendonitis is in both legs. So that owner at that point is like, fuck, there's my first round pick, my number 1 overall pick. Fuck. there is a little bit of good news that just came up. So his value is starting to creep up. So it's the value of like, oh, well, he went through a practice without like irritation. Buy his ass now. I would give up a Swift. I would give up a Pollard. I would give up a Pollard and maybe another piece, because when CMC is in his situation, not just when he's in, he's going to be productive. This team is going to rely on him. The Niners themselves are 2-3. When he comes back, believe me, they're going to give him a full dose. He's going to be at minimum a top 10 running back. At minimum.
Even with Jordan Mason there?
Even with Jordan Mason there, bro. Even with Jordan. Look, a lot of that whole thing of like, oh, this is going to be if CMC don't want to come out, he's not going to come out.
So Jordan Mason for CMC. Who you taking?
CMC.
So right now you trade Jordan Mason straight up for CMC.
I'm trading right. If I got Jordan Mason on my team, he's not my starting running back, even though he's playing like a starting running back. I know I have other running backs that I can put in my lineup right now because of just the nature of how you got Jordan Mason. Yeah, all day. I would give two Jordan Masons for CMC.
See, this is why we view the game. We don't always make the same type of trades, but we view the game very similarly because you don't play for weeks 1 through 14. I don't know how many ways to say that and how many different times I can say that. Yes, I know you need to make the playoffs. That's every player is trying to make the playoffs. But what happens is what matters most is what happens in the fantasy playoffs. And if you have Christian McCaffrey and you can get him outside of top 12 running back value right now, every week that price is going to increase. You do that shit now because there's not 15 running backs better than CMC, even at value today. There's not. I will take the chance and miss on a CMC. He doesn't come back. He gets re-injured. That's fine. Over holding a guy like a David Montgomery. Over holding a guy like Zach Moss, Tony Pollard. Them motherfuckers can go. Give me Christian McCaffrey because he has game-changing lineup abilities, even if he's in a limited role to start off. By the time the fantasy playoffs hit, and the good news we've been getting along the way, that price is only going to increase, man. I'm there with you, and I would rather have CMC over Jordan Mason as well.
Yeah, just put it like this. I mean, we play for the fantasy playoffs, right? If you squeak in, right, and if you get in, I don't want to say squeak in, but if you get in, and you're the guy who's holding Tony Pollard, you're the guy who's holding DeAndre Swift, and you're like, I'm banking on these guys to put up these numbers. Once you go against that guy who did buy CMC along with the rest of his roster and what it's looked like, oh, it's curtains for you, bro. You losing by more than 20 points.
And I always feel like this too. This is another reason I trade for like injured players sometimes. And a lot of people are like, what are you doing, J-Head? Like you know how it is, P. The reaction I get sometimes for trading for like players who are down. It's if you can find a way to win with your fantasy lineup without those players, what happens when you put that player in your lineup? And now you have a stud, and now your team looks completely different because you've already figured out the players who can help you win. Now you're adding star value on top of that and potential upside. It's how you craft these lineups in order to win your championships, man. And like I said, I just don't know that there's like I'm going down the list right now. Saquon, Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, Bijan, Brees, Joe Mixon, Kyren, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor, who's hurt right now, Kenneth Walker.
Bro,
and then we're talking like who else after that?
I would have give me
Josh
CMC.
Jacobs or CMC?
Get CMC, bro.
I still take Jacobs.
You take Josh Jacobs?
Yeah, I take Josh Jacobs still.
Achane or CMC? Like right now, who am I taking?
We're talking like right now today. You're watching this video before.
You're taking Josh Jacobs right now over CMC?
Hell yeah.
That's
Josh Jacobs is RB1. He's an RB1.
Okay. Josh Jacobs was an RB1 because CMC ain't playing. Is he even an RB1? How many touchdowns he got?
Statistically, he's not. I'm saying I think Josh Jacobs continues to provide RB1 value, and I feel like even during the fantasy playoffs, he can have a game like CMC. It's not like Josh Jacobs can't have 120 yards.
Give me CMC. I don't want to. Give me CMC over Josh Jacobs.
Achane or CMC.
Give me CMC over Achane.
I'll take Achane too.
No, you said you'll take Achane?
Achane over CMC right now. Achane has a similar type of upside. He's hurt just like Christian McCaffrey's fucking hurt.
Nah, give me Christian McCaffrey, bro. Give me Christian McCaffrey.
K-Walk. You got K-Walk or CMC?
Give me CMC, bro.
Yeah, see, Kenneth Walker, I'll still take him. James Cook or CMC?
I've never been a big James Cook guy.
I'm with you on that. I got CMC. I think if you would have asked me like a week or two ago, I probably would have said
James
Cook. But
Cook.
like the closer we're getting to this thing,
Yeah.
that you got to start tearing him up a little bit more. So.
Yeah, because like when I'm looking at these like CMC ors, I'm thinking like, okay, am I going to be happier having CMC in my lineup or this guy? I do factor in the fact that like I'm going to have to wait a few weeks for CMC to be CMC, right? But the same thing, like we've seen what happens with Achane. Like the reason I'm taking CMC is because CMC is going to be that offense. Achane, when Tua is back, is going to be great. He's going to be productive while he's playing. But there's also going to be the factor of like, okay, that also boosts Tyreek's value. So,
but you're not. I don't think you're thinking of the missed time all the way through because we're in week 6.
I'm thinking
so week
of that.
6, week 7, week 8, week 9, week 10. You're without a star running back. So 5 weeks of production at least, and that's assuming he comes back right after the bye and he's 15 touches right after the bye. What happens if they do work? They're like, yo, we got Jordan Mason playing. We got to save Christian McCaffrey from himself. We're going to give him a 3-game ramp up to make sure he's fine. What happens if there's another injury? Oh, shit, he's out there again. The calf is bothering him now. The other Achilles is flaring up. He's got to go to fucking Germany again. Like,
but
I don't think you're factoring in the risk as much with CMC that you need to because you have him like top 8.
I would take CMC top 8, bro, because CMC ceiling is just that fucking high. Look, you want to talk about baking in risk for injury, like all that same shit could be applied for Achane, straight up. It can be applied for Achane, right? I may not be factoring in the fact that like I may not have him for a month in my fantasy lineup, right? But I'm gonna like obviously that's gonna be playing a factor. It's like, okay, what's my starting lineup gonna be looking like? Because if I X a Walker, right? If I X a K Walk, then that's like 16 points per game I have to make up. Do I have that on my team? If I don't, can I find that on my team? If I can't, I'm probably not making that move, right? But the value of your team with a CMC in down the stretch when it matters, can I work and play with the waiver wire or trade some other places to construct a team to make up for that 16 points on a daily basis to make up for that loss of K-Watt? If I can make up 10 of those points, I'm pulling the trigger. If I can make up like 9, 10, 11 of those points, I'm pulling the trigger because a player of CMC's caliber is worth that. You're talking about the number 1 overall player had he not been hurt. That's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about, oh, fuck, should I do that for Brees? I don't know. We're not talking about, Derrick Henry. We're talking about Christian fucking McCaffrey, the number 1 overall player. Come on, man.
Still in the split, still dealing with injuries.
Hey,
a lot more risk than you give him credit for, people. I see your point, man. I see your point. Another player who's hurt like that right now that's probably sitting in the IR spot, if you could put him there, some leagues don't allow you to put him there. Some leagues do not allow you to put him there. You
gotta adapt, baby.
IR eligible.
Adapt.
Cooper Kupp. And Cooper Kupp, man, he we saw what it looked like. We saw the 20 target game. We saw what this thing looked like without Nakua, who's probably going to be out closer to week 10, week 11, extended timeout. Cooper Kupp and Sean McVay, he kind of poured a little bit of, I don't know what the right terminology is, but a little bit of doubt now on his availability right after the bye, right? Might not be out right after week 7. He was like, that's optimistic. That's ideal. But Cooper Kupp's the kind of player that can change a team as well. Mm-hmm. Are you buying him? Are you buying him? Because you already know my answer. My answer is I'm buying Cooper Kupp. I treat him as a top 5 to 7 wide receiver. Like I'm treating him the same way you're kind of with McCaffrey. That's how I am with Cooper Kupp.
Yeah,
buying him
that
the same
passion.
Way?
I know you feel that passion. Look, Cooper Kupp, I like the idea of Cooper Kupp. Let me say that, right? Because he does get the targets, right? If something I'm considering when addressing Cooper Kupp and looking to buy him or sell him, and so this conversation I'm going to have with the owner of Cooper Kupp is one thing you got to consider is his age, right? The dude is he's old, he's long in the tooth, whatever you want to call it. How old is Cooper Kupp?
Cooper Kupp's 20. He's like 30 years old. I think he's 30.
He's not. Don't start with 20, man.
He's 30.
You know how old.
He's 30.
Cooper Kupp's 31 right now.
He's 30, almost 31.
No, he's 31 right now. I think he's going to be 32.
No, he's 31 in like 500 days.
I'm looking at it right now. He's age 30.
30 500 days, P.
He's 30 and 500 days.
Yes.
God,
He's actually 29. He's actually 29 and 800 days, bro.
God damn. So he's like what? So he went 34. Now he's like 32, 33. Listen, bro, like a wide receiver like that of Cooper Kupp's nature, heavy volume, going over the middle. At this age, he gets hurt. We seen him get hurt last year. We seen him get hurt this year. What makes you think they're gonna rely on him on a team that is probably going nowhere, right? On a team that's going nowhere, what makes you think where's the incentive for Cooper Kupp and this team to continually get him punished, to continually, these are the things I'm factoring in. If I can get Cooper Kupp and have him be as my wide receiver 3, I'll pull that trigger all day. Cooper Kupp's value is what it is until it isn't, right? And I think when you're looking at the factors, age, his injury history, and the consistency that his injury keeps happening.
All you mentioned is the injury, though, and I think that's a risk with hella players right now. We've seen hella players go on IR, miss time, and I know it's a factor for him. But what incentive do the Rams have to protect Cooper Kupp? There's no incentive right now for them to, we can't get you hurt. He's 31 years old. He's in the tail end of his damn career. Puka Nacua showed last year that he could take over at any point in time. So yeah, Puka Nacua is not going to be back anytime soon, and we don't know when he's going to be back. But even still in that role, Cooper Kupp is going to have an amazing value. And I'm like, wait, there's no reason for McVay to be like protective of his targets and not utilize him the same way. He's going to be used the same way. He's going to have the same amount of targets. Now, if he gets hurt doing that, fine. That's the risk. That's the reason why I don't have him number 1 or number 2. Otherwise, we probably would have him there.
No, but you said you had him as your top 5 wide receiver.
Top 5, yes. I would have him. If Cooper Kupp, if I knew for sure Cooper Kupp would be playing top 17 games, I'd probably have number 1, 2.
Yeah, if Cooper Kupp can play 17 games, I'm right there with you. But it happens to be just the way that it is, right? When it comes to NFL teams, if you're a winning team and you have something to play for, and this is what I was referencing when I'm talking about like the incentive. If they're winning teams and they have something to play for, then these players who can have these nicky-knack, ticky-tack injuries will play through them. If you're a losing team and you're not going to make the playoffs, you know what? I'm sit this one out, coach. Us don't even trip, right? What are we really playing you for? You'll see that with like elite players who happen to who were once injury prone, go to a winning team and a playoff team and are like, I'm playing every game of the season. You're like, well, when the fuck did that happen? Happened with CMC, right? On the Niners. As soon as he went to the Niners, he's playing every goddamn game, taking on the heaviest workload in the fucking league. With Cooper Kupp, if they were like 3-2 right now, and them coming, one more factor, just bringing Puka into this conversation.
Yeah,
because I think that Puka also has a lot to say with what Cooper Kupp's value is, right? With as old as Cooper Kupp is, I think the story of Cooper Kupp is on the way out, and the story of Puka is on the way in, right? And what I mean by that, if Puka's fully healthy and if Cooper Kupp's fully healthy, who do you think is going to get the majority of the work?
I think it's
at this point in their careers.
And there was time when they both played last season, it was Cooper Kupp who was getting more work.
Week one,
and I don't want to use week 1 because Nacua was hurt, but it's like we saw Cooper Kupp get more work when he was healthy. So I still think this is a Cooper Kupp led team until he's not there. Maybe next year. But Cooper Kupp is still, he's 31. He's in his prime. He's playing for legacy right now. So you talk about him sitting out. He's playing for a next contract and he's playing for legacy because this is the end of his career. He's got 2 years left. That's it.
Yeah, 2 years left. No, yeah, he's got 2 years left if he's lucky. What legacy is going to cement Cooper
You're right.
Kupp?
So why would you hold back? That doesn't make sense to me. Why would McVay hold back? You got Nacua for the next 5-6 years at least.
Yeah, you got Nacua for the next 5-6 years. So it's like and when they were playing, when they were both fully healthy in like the first quarter and a half, Nacua was getting those targets. Puka
had 5 targets on the first drive.
Okay, but the quality targets, what did Puka have? Right? Puka, I don't know. We could probably spend some time looking that up. Yeah. But if it's a 50-50 split or whatnot, what have you, the quality of those targets may not have been there because I remember it was Puka going over the middle catching it. It was Puka making these tough catches.
Yeah, Cooper Kupp, they use him as like damn near like a running back, kind of like Rashee Rice was being used with Kansas City, where it's short yardage stuff and then it's run after the catch. But they also use him in the red zone. Like you got to take more deep shots to Puka Nacua, whereas Cooper Kupp is just his ability to get open leads to a lot of touchdowns. I hear you, dog. I hear you on the concern about his injury and then the role itself. But to me, until he proves that he's like washed, he proves that he's teared down. Shit, I'm getting Cooper Kupp at the value. I hear what you're saying.
Fall off. Yeah, right into the wheels fall. And I feel you, and like I said, if I can I think your team would be really strong if you have Cooper Kupp in your wide receiver 3. Like your team is like really strong. But obviously when we're talking about like, his ceiling is high, but his floor is just low. And I think that's where primarily we differ on these players, bro.
Yeah.
It's like there's so much variability. And, it's just when I'm looking at all the factors of Cooper Kupp, it's injury history. Yeah. It's what can he do when he's in the game? Yeah. It's how is their team playing? Yeah. And who else is on their team that's going to be competing for targets?
We talk about floor. We talk about floor and upside, and the same thing can be said about Puka Nacua. Right? When we talk about like floor or upside or risk, like I think you would probably be like, I'm going to go try to buy Puka Nacua instead. And maybe I don't know if I'm speaking for you right now. Puka Nacua is not really on my radar. Like for what you had to pay, you had to get him at top 12 receiver prices coming into the year. Do you think he's going to be a top 12 guy when he comes back? Or are you buying him only if you can get him at like wide receiver 3 prices, which most people aren't going to give him to you at that price?
Nobody's going to give him to you at wide receiver 3 prices. I would pay more of a premium for Puka than I would for Cooper Kupp, right? I think Puka's injury is a little bit more concerning than Cooper Kupp's, but I think Cooper Kupp is like they're providing a little bit of hesitancy with what day he's going to come back, right? When you're talking about Cooper Kupp. With Puka, I think he'll be back by like week 10.
Yeah, right? They said he's at least out another month.
Yeah, so I think he'll be back around that time, week 10. But I would buy Puka more so because I think there's more incentive for him to build off of that record-setting rookie year than that of a 31-and-a-half-year-old Cooper Kupp, often injured, who, is playing for a team that's not incentivized to win. Or not incentivized, they're just not going to win.
So if you had like a DJ Moore, right? And you're looking like, I don't believe in DJ Moore. I want to sell him. I think I'm selling high right now.
Okay.
And you're going to go buy, the owner of the team's like, yo, I'll sell DJ Moore to you for either Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua. How are you moving with that?
You're saying who would I choose?
Yeah. I
would choose Puka. You would choose
Puka over Cooper. See, this is where we do differ because I'm taking Cooper Kupp 10 times out of 10 out of that. The injury is worse for Puka Nacua. You already talked about that. But the upside for Cooper Kupp is higher than it is for Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua played really well last year. Obviously broke the rookie record. That's fine. But a lot of that was with Cooper Kupp on the sidelines. When they played together, it wasn't the same kind of pace as it was when he was off the field. No, it was not.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was, and I'll tell you why.
Statistically, it was not. Cooper Kupp was the more productive player when they played and they were both healthy. Statistically,
let me tell you why. In the game that mattered most, right? In the playoff game, both healthy. Read off their stats.
I got you right now. I'll pull it up for you. I gotta find this shit, man.
And this right here is going to tell you everything you need to know about why.
It's not going to tell you shit. It's not. It's one game.
It's
not going to tell you shit.
It's the most important game of the goddamn season.
Not the most important game. They lost in that game. They lost.
Yeah, but nigga, that's the must win or go home, right? Win or go home. Who am I going to? If I'm going to Puka, go ahead. Yeah, your face changed, bro.
9 targets. 9 targets, 5 catches, 27 yards. So obviously did not have the yards. Still had 9 targets.
Yeah, 9 targets. It's because he's okay. Now go ahead and read Puka.
And then when I'm reading out Puka Nacua's stats here from last season,
I don't. In the playoff game,
he had against Detroit. He had 10 targets, 9 catches for 181 and a touchdown. Right. So obviously in that, but you bug eye him for no reason because they had that in that game. But throughout the course when both of those two were playing together, it
So
was
look,
clear and evident that you're going off one game. It was clear and
no, I'm
evident that
not
Cooper Cup
going.
was the guy.
Listen,
You
Jay,
are.
and
Oh, the
I'm
most important game of the year.
stamp
No,
this right
it's a
here.
different team.
I'm a I'm gonna stamp it right here for you. 9 targets, 27 yards. 10 targets, 180 and a touchdown. What does that tell you itself? Those 9 targets are just like dump off. Oh, they're coming in. The defensive line was crazy with Detroit. Okay, here's my security blanket. Yo,
Yeah.
you chill here. You run these like you. I'm not no A dot guy, but the A dot must have been
like you A-dotting
that
right
game.
now. Sound like you A-dotting right now, homie.
That A dot must have been shit. Yo, you get 9 catches for 27 yards. Who the fuck are you? Would you get a catch for negative 20 yards or something? But like, no, let's keep this shit G. When you're talking about like this, that's primarily look. I would have a different tune if in that playoff game, if it was like if they both had 9 targets, they both had 90, 80, 100 yards. If their stat was similar, then that tells me okay, yo. But I think what that tells me that there's a changing of the guard, and you'd rather be earlier than later when picking who's going to take over. And me, I prefer to be earlier or on time. If you're taking Cooper Kupp, I think you're being way late to the pick and you're missing the bus, bro.
Give me Cooper Kupp. You're trying to be a little too early to the party, man. Sometimes it's cool to show up fashionably late because a lot of times that's how you win, baby. You know what I'm saying? You be winning when you show up fashionably late, baby.
Hey, I ain't mad at it.
We talk about early to the party. A lot of fantasy fans were very early and wanted to be very early to the Marvin Harrison party. They wanted to be so early to the Marvin Harrison party. And I don't think it was a terrible thing. Like, obviously, worth the hype. He's going to be a fantastic player. Yeah. But he's sitting right now as the wide receiver 18. And I know this is a value that I talked about. It's like, hey, if you have him back in wide receiver 2, it's not a bad thing. And I think a lot of people are so enamored by the hype and the potential and what he will be that it kind of lost some of the thought. But it's weird because in some circles, he's still viewed as a wide receiver 1 because of his 1/4 performance that he had against the Rams where he torched them. And in his next game, right, obviously had a strong start to that game. But where are you at with Marvin? I'll tell you where I'm at with Marvin first.
Okay, go ahead.
I still view Marvin as like a wide receiver 2. And I think that he's the kind of player that still has way more name value than he will be worth at this exact moment.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's going to go through a rough stretch of games here. But in that same breath, I do think at some point this season, P, there's going to be a turning point. There will be a turning point, and we look at the fantasy playoffs, and I think a lot of people may be validated during the fantasy playoffs matchups against, the Patriots, Carolina, the Rams yet again. So over the short, it's a weird thing because I think over the short term, if you need production, there's some tough matchups ahead, like some very tough matchups ahead. The waters get a little murky, but if you can withstand it, maybe he doesn't finish as a top 10 guy, but at some point in this season, when it flips, you will have a top 10 asset. Very hard player for me to buy, sell right now. I still think I'd be willing to capitalize on the wide receiver 1 value and sell at this current moment, Pete.
Yeah, the comment on what you mentioned earlier, we've had I think 4 or 5 of the past 3 or 4 of the past 5 years, we've had rookies come out and play as solidified wide receiver 1s, right?
Yes.
I don't think that this was the case. I never thought he was going to be a solidified wide receiver. I always thought he was overdrafted, right? Now, what we're seeing with him is we're seeing the potential, right? Now, he was really sunning that corner over there on the Rams. Tre'Davious White. He was sunning Tre'Davious White, but a lot of motherfuckers was sunning Tre'Davious White. So I was like, okay, well, maybe it's just a little premature, right? He had a really good first quarter, didn't do much. And after that, he's been showing flashes, right? He's getting the targets, but listen, if you don't have him, you're going to want to wait till after this stretch because he's playing Green Bay, right? Jair, right? He's playing the Chargers, solid. He's playing Miami. You know what I
Jalen.
mean? Jalen playing Chicago.
Jalen again.
Jalen. Them Jalen's gonna get you, boy. After Chicago, you think it's gonna end up? Nah, he playing Sauce.
So, damn.
You know what I'm saying? And then after that bye, I don't know when your bye weeks are, but you're gonna want to wait somewhere in that stretch.
You mean the trade deadline?
Yeah, the trade deadline. I don't know when that's going to happen.
Typically around like week 11, week 12, like somewhere in that range.
So week 11,
I guess week 11 for most leagues.
Yeah. Okay. So right at like week 10, after he plays Sauce, or maybe even before he plays Sauce, because in that stretch, it's going to get ugly for him. So that may be your time to buy, right? Because when he plays, Jalen, the first Jalen in Miami week 8, that may be the time, because you're going to say, oh, he's going to play Jalen again. Then he's going to play Sauce. Then he's going to be on the bye. What are you really doing? Right? That's the time that I'm looking to strike. That's the time that the Sharks are going to go and buy Marvin Harrison, because like you said, in the playoffs, right? They got Seattle. I think is an overrated defense. He's going to play Christian Gonzalez in New England, but I just think that, I think he can get a touchdown there. And then Carolina, he's going to eat. And then the Rams in the fantasy championship. Big money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where you want. That's my point, right? So I'm right there with you. I think he is a wide receiver 2.
Yes.
A strong wide receiver 2. But he's going to look more in that stretch of like 4, 5, 6 games, whatever it is. He's going to look like a wide receiver 3. Right?
I think he's a back end wide receiver 2 that has elite upside weekly. That's what it is. Yeah. And unfortunately, like, maybe it balances out and he's a top 15 guy at the end of the year. But like, this next stretch is going to be tough. So you'd have to purely be buying in on the fact that you think he's going to be an elite asset for your team and feel confident that you're going to have a strong championship team. You have to really buy into that if you're going to buy Harrison right now. The savvy move, because if we could future jump into the future, you and I will be on this screen in week 10. You and I both, after he plays Sauce Gardner, and you and I both are going to be like, go get Marvin Harrison.
Get his ass now.
We will both be saying that if you want to move forward to the future, I can already tell you what future J-Hen, future P are going to be saying. We're going to say, listen, this is a player that has elite upside now. We're seeing flashes of it, has had some tough matchups, has an easier schedule down the stretch. Go get Marvin. Like, that's legit what we're going to be saying. So I think it's all timing. A lot of it, fantasy, is timing and when you do things and just perception. And we talked about market value already. Perception is a big thing, because after he has that stretch of games, people are going to say, you know what? Malik Neighbors is the better rookie. He's having a stronger season. You know what? Brian Thomas. We should have thought Brian Thomas was the better rookie. He's better than Marvin Harrison. Both of those guys are playing better than Marvin is right now. But perception is everything. The same way we've already said Caleb is not as good as Jaden Daniels, and the Bears should have took Jaden Daniels number 1. Caleb is showing his own worth right now, playing well. Perception a lot of time drives fantasy value. So especially those who don't watch the games, especially those who aren't great evaluators of talent, it's not a bad thing. Not everybody watches football the same way, but those minds are a little bit easier to influence and a little bit easier to move off of some pieces when public perception is bad.
Yeah, that's the thing, because you mentioned it. The strongest point I think you mentioned is that perception drives value, right? Those that the perception drives value to, bro, I think if you allow perception to drive your value and you don't really know what to look at, you don't know the nitty-gritty, like how to see past that. The ability to see past that is what separates a real motherfucker from a casual, right? If you can identify those casuals that don't quite see that, then you're a shark, bro. You just got your fins, man.
And it's those are the people that win leagues. That's the reason why some people watch. I know they'll watch you. They'll probably watch me and think, "What are these guys talking about?" Like it's kind of the reverse. Like you almost think in a completely different box than everybody else does, and it helps you because everybody's kind of trending the same way. Everybody thinks the same way about a player. He's had great games, so he's going to be great the rest of the season. And when you allow yourself to kind of get out of the moment and really evaluate what this thing is, it's football. It's football. There's no teams that go 17-0. Rarely do we see historic seasons. They're historic seasons for a reason. It rarely happens. Now, when you're able to take yourself out of the moment and say, listen, things are good, they're going to be bad at some point. Or, man, it's been bad. At some point, it's going to be good. It helps you become a better player, man. So I think with Marvin, The perception's there right now that he's still elite. We're probably like, it's probably the person who has Marvin right now is wondering, did I take the wrong rookie? They're wondering right now, did I pay too much for him? So let a couple weeks go by, and then let me and P direct you on the right track, man.
Yeah, man, we'll guide you, man. You know what I'm saying? Don't even trip, man.
Any other thoughts when it comes to trades right now? It's week 5. It's week 6. We've had a couple teams going on by this week. Any other thoughts right now when it comes to trades, wheeling and dealing, giving up too much, maybe giving up, throwing low ball offers out there, getting stonewalled in deals? Just any trade thoughts or tips in general before we get off?
Yeah, some quick tips when you are making deals. I think it actually hurts a player's value when you openly let everybody know you're willing to trade, right? You don't want to be like, if you're panicking on it. I think that in Sleeper, if you do use that trade, the trade,
like this person's available in trade.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, if you put somebody on a trade block, I think it kind of hurts their value a little bit. I think
what if they're playing well? You think that hurts their value if they're playing well, or like maybe unexpectedly playing well?
I don't think that. I don't think people will take you serious if they're unexpectedly playing well.
Kareem Hunt.
Put it like this.
Kareem Hunt on the trade block. Like Kareem Hunt coming off a strong game, you put him on the trade block.
I think that's one thing, right? If you put Kareem Hunt on the trade block, he's like a lower caliber of player, right? But if you're looking to capitalize the value on for example, like a Nico Collins, right?
Yes.
Prior to the injury, right? If you take a Nico Collins, opposed to putting him on a trade block, if you would have just put him in somebody's inbox, right? Looking to get a Jamar Chase and something else, looking to get, a AJ Brown, right?
Yes.
Who's on a buy. And I think that person accepts because they're going to be playing mind tricks themselves. Oh, this guy in my inbox. How many other people did he put him in the inbox for? Is this guy stupid? Let me hit accept, right? What you're doing at that point is, you're capitalizing immediately. Whereas if you put him on the trade block, the conversation that happens on the main line can bring his value down or bring his value up.
Especially depending on the league you're in.
Exactly, right? And like you mentioned, perception is everything. If somebody's like, oh, he fucking sucks, or somebody who does have intel, oh, well, I bet he's going to get injured, or, oh, well, they're going to spread the rock and so-and-so's coming back.
That because he has a matchup against Sauce Gardner.
Exactly, right? When they start talking down, that's going to influence a lot of other people around you. Dude, that move in silence, man. Killers move in silence, bro. Don't use that trade block crazily. I would prefer you to just be in people's inboxes, man.
And I think it's okay to get turned down, to get ghosted. Like, people get so scared. Oh, I sent this perfect deal out and nobody responded. Or I'm scared if I send this deal, they're actually going to accept. Then send better fucking deals. Send good deals. A deal. Make sure you take the time to go look at somebody else's roster and be like, this person could use this, right? I think a lot of people blindly send deals. They're like, how do I get better out of this? Oh, I want this player. And instead of looking at how the other team's going to get better, they're sending them back 2 receivers when they have 4 receivers already that start. They're sending them a running back when they're starting running backs are Saquon Barkley and Alvin Kamara. Stuff that just does not make sense for the other team. So I always think you got to go check out the other team. Make sure you're helping them. So they look at the deal. You're like, damn, they're starting Terry McLaurin. They're starting Michael Pittman. They're starting DJ Moore. They can really use a rock solid wide receiver like Nico Collins before the injury, obviously, right? They could really use this kind of player. Now I'm going to go get one. Or I sent a deal earlier today. I don't know if they accepted or not, but it was Jamar Chase. And I just, like you said, didn't put him on a trade block. I had Jamar Chase in the league coming off the 40-point game. I sent him for Breece Hall and another piece. If it works out, it works out. But I'm asking for that right now. Now I'm going and asking for these pieces with the Yeah, you see me. You see me.
No,
you see me,
bro. Because I'm telling you, we may be in the same league with this, but damn,
I don't know if it's the same. It might be the same league. I don't know.
It might be the same league because I got a deal out for Breece on that same league. I'm like, damn,
yeah, we had too many leagues together, bro.
Yeah, we got a few leagues together, but I don't want to hate. I'm gonna probably let you go ahead and get that. But
if your deal's better, hey, I can't hate. The thing is, you can't hate, bro. So I think at the end of the day, when it comes to trading, you gotta do what's best for you and your team. But also, try. You don't always gotta. You can make it a win for both teams, but at least try to make it a win for both teams. A lot of people go in thinking they have to win the deal. It doesn't always need to be the case in fantasy. So
that's true.
Listen, this ain't the end of the content for the year. We're gonna be back very soon. We will see y'all in the next one. Peace out.